welcome back to our show. The one thing that we do and we have talked about a lot is the low inventory that seems to be out there, not only in Seattle, but also on a national level, which is contributing to, well, rising house prices, which is good and bad, I suppose. Shelby White joins us, founder and owner of West Seattle Realty. Shelby, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you, and obviously from the name of your company, West Seattle Realty, certainly, I'm going to guess that's pretty much where you do most of your business is over on West Seattle.
Yes, that's correct. We're a small firm that we specialize in the West Seattle market, and now I'm commuting over here to the east side today tells me why I work and live in West Seattle, close to home.
You got to hit all those bridges, and man, that's a straight shot across 90. Do people in West Seattle leave West Seattle?
Well, more so today, not as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have, grown a lot in the last, 10 years over there, and all your daily needs are pretty much right there at home in West Seattle. And, people obviously leave for work.
And
but
for
once
Seahawks
you get,
games.
and Seahawks games and whatnot, and hopefully for the upcoming Sonics.
Yeah.
So, but as once you get home, what's great about West Seattle is you can park the car and walk to most of your daily needs, and that seems to be a big selling point for what I call the peninsula.
Yeah, well, a lot of people call it peninsula. It's almost like an island over there with all the bridges you have to take.
That's true.
What drew you to West Seattle, and why did you decide to have a real estate company focused in West Seattle?
Well, what drew us over to West Seattle back in the early 90s, my wife took a job over there, and we started becoming more familiar with the area, and both of us growing up on the east side, hadn't really had much exposure to it, but once we started, going over there for her job and that, we thought, hey, this is a nice area, great place to start a family. And so, a few years after that, I had noticed a real need for a local specialized service to service the market there. And one thing led to another, and came up with West Seattle Realty, and it's been a great fit ever since.
So what is going on in West Seattle? I mean, West Seattle, to me, seems like it is, well, it's certainly part of the city, but it's, it's like, oh, you go to Alki, right? Or you go to West Seattle for a reason. Most people don't just go, hang out in West Seattle unless you live there, outside of these kind of little day trips or whatnot. My take on it, I just,
Sure.
But how does the real estate market stack up in West Seattle versus maybe some of the more, I guess, interior areas of the city?
Sure. That's a great question. And, the thing that's really driving West Seattle is proximity to, the major, parts of, or the major employers, and the growth of South Lake Union. Boeing's obviously, very close to West Seattle if you're in the Renton or the South End. So, the jobs that are being created, having proximity to those has, I think opened up awareness to the convenience of being in West Seattle and being able to get to and from work. People think of, well, then you're dealing with the West Seattle Bridge, and how that's like a major, of concern. But
it's like people who think about 520. I mean, if you don't drive 520, it's like, oh wait, there's no way I'm going on 520.
Right, but hey, now we've got the water taxi. You can cross Elliott Bay without even crossing the bridge. So, and people, aren't even aware of that.
Sounds like a good deal. Shelby White joins us, founder and broker with West Seattle Realty. Shelby, so what is the market like over there? I mean, there are a lot of job centers, I suppose, that are opening up that are within good proximity.
Yes, well, as I think is tracking the other areas, inner, communities of the city of Seattle. As it stands right now, our inventory is very low. From say, here we are in January of 2013. If you were to compare that to January of 2012, our inventory is down about 35% from where it was a year ago. And the demand is very strong, as with respect to, there's a lot of folks looking in West Seattle. And as a result, when quality properties do come on the market, our market time is very, very low, very short. There's a lot of interest in the in the well-positioned or well-presented properties that come on the market, and in all price ranges. Anything from the first-time home buyer price range, which I would say is, the 300 to 400 market, and on up into the $1 million market. So market times are very short, limited inventory, limited choices for buyers, and as a result, what I considered pent-up demand at this time. We would like to see more homes come on the market. That's the consensus right now.
So what is it like then for a seller in West Seattle? I mean, is it a good opportunity for them? It seems as if around most of the city that the really good properties go quickly. West Seattle, I would think, kind of runs the gamut of all the different styles of houses, from, as you said, these gorgeous $1 million properties to, I think, if you get a little bit further south, you really end up in some, not so nice properties. Does the same market trend kind of from the tip of Alki south to, I suppose, I don't know, what do you consider the south end of West Seattle?
The south border for Seattle would be Southwest 100th, okay? And, Alki is about 1,400, okay? So you have about 86 blocks from north to south, which comprises, West Seattle. And basically, if you factor or you look at West Marginal Way all the way over to the Sound, that's your east and west borders of West Seattle. Now, if you go from Alki all the way down to, Southwest 100th Street, which is Roxbury, the south border of Seattle, there's a wide difference or wide range in prices. And, what drives those prices is, how far west you are in proximity to the water. So the further west you go and the further north you go, the prices, will go higher with those areas. And as getting back to your original question about, opportunities for sellers right now, yes, if you have a compelling reason to or need to sell your home, there is a premium out there for those sellers that do, present their homes, properly to the market, have them in good condition, and make, and have good street appeal, and do it right and price it correctly. There's I would say as much as a 3 to 4 to 5% premium right now out there for the sellers that do it right. For example, we brought a home on the market in the Admiral District, and right there in mid-December, which is considered not a good time to put a home on the market. An updated, 4-bed, 3-bath home had been completely remodeled by a client of mine, and most folks would say it's definitely a not to do, put a home on the market right before Christmas. Well, we had the home sold in 3 days, and it closed January 3rd. So the buyer was able to get into their home effectively right after the first of the year, get their kids into their new elementary school, and make that transition. But we had multiple offers. The home got bid up, and that's in the holiday, typically slow time of the market.
So when you end up with multiple offers in what would typically be a slow time, there's obviously a need for more housing. Is there a lot of new construction going on in West Seattle to meet that need?
Well, what we have in West Seattle is, like other typical, more established neighborhoods in all of the inner Seattle areas, is what we call infill. And that's where you have a property that has no longer, the structure on the property is of value. And then, that property would come to the market and sell, and an investor builder would buy that property and build a new home on it. So that creates inventory. But there's a limited supply of those, even though they're being created every day because people, no longer, take care of their property or for whatever reason. And, so that's one way inventory is created. Another is, from current zoning, code and so forth, that, the city of Seattle is trying to create more housing with, higher density residential type of properties. And that's, more like townhomes and things of that nature, and row houses. So, which is a different style of townhomes. And, we could talk to that topic, at length as to, the new code about townhomes and row houses. But the bottom line is we don't have enough inventory to serve the current demand of homes in West Seattle. And so we're always struggling to find new opportunities for our investor and builders. And then you have also another dynamic to that market is the city of Seattle and changing their codes and putting a bit of a moratorium on, higher density infill. And once again, that's another topic.
So when you have people who are out looking at houses and, buyers, and you have the potential for maybe row houses or maybe some older homes or maybe some nicer homes, is there any type of home that's being received better by buyers in that area?
I'm sure. Well, what has been the most recent trend over the last 2 or 3 years in terms of new construction, single family, homes, has been the more modern style, box style of properties that have been very well received and amongst the buyers out there, because it's a little different than a traditional look. It's something that hasn't been overbuilt here in the Seattle area. It's kind of a new trend, and so that's been kind of the safe play for the builder investors out there to build that style. But as you may have seen in some of the more recent publicity about new homes and these high big walls amongst in an established neighborhood where there's a bunch of small houses that are traditional in style, there's been a little bit of bad publicity about that, or amongst the community that those homes are being built in. So some of the builders now are rethinking that model and considering to go back to maybe some of the traditional type of designs, Craftsman or Northwest, maybe more of a Northwest style of home that might fit in better into a neighborhood, and I think that will be well received. And that's probably the new trend that we'll start seeing here going forward for 2013 and 2014.
So really more high-density style or houses that will house more people, but in a style that doesn't necessarily look more modern.
Right, that doesn't necessarily just stand out amongst. So if you have a block and most of the homes on that block are traditional and built like, let's say, for example, in the 20s, or the 30s, they don't match up well necessarily. I mean, this is the public perception with a home that looks like it's a 2010 modern design with a flat roof and very tall in nature. Doesn't have a lot of lines breaking up the elevation of the home, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Well, Shelby, certainly good information from West Seattle and the people who live there or want to live there. I certainly could contact you for a lot more information, because it sounds like between the new construction and the zoning code, there's a lot going on just in the real estate market in general over in West Seattle.
Oh, it's a vibrant market, and I think with the buyers today looking for proximity to the city of Seattle, and companies like Amazon or any of the maybe the Gates Foundation or any of the .orgs, it's a great option.
Well, that, and I think they have Pegasus Pizza and Cactus sitting there right on the water. So when it gets real sunny out, boom, you know where you can go get some good food. Thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break, but when we come back, if you're interested in more about mortgages, how maybe you could buy a house in West Seattle, what's going on with the actual financing of these properties, you're about to find out. Ryan Leopold joins us next.